Okay, we're going to carry on with developing our systems map, and we're going to call this iteration 2. Okay, and so let me draw the boundary again. I seem to be using a different font along the bottom there for the boundary line. But anyway, we're in iteration 2. Remember, the problem that we're trying to address is how might we help people on Queen's campus, get the hydration that they need in a more sustainable way. Okay, and so in iteration 1, we had quite a lot of detail. We got to the point, at least I got to the point, where I wasn't totally happy with the back end, almost too much detail, too much complication. But I also began to realize that I could organize the blocks and maybe collect them a little bit in a better way. And so that's what I'm going to do in iteration 2. So first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, I'm just going to have this long, thin sort of box. And what this thin sort of box is, it says that water leaves either in the sewer or it's carried out, okay? And carried out might be carried out because I have it in my stomach, or carried out might mean that it's being carried out in some kind of container, okay? Now, we recognized that people will bring water in their own personal containers, okay? And that might be a water bottle, it might be a coffee mug, it might be a coffee thermos, okay? All of those things bring water in for hydration. And so that sort of carries through. Well, actually, let's just leave that there for a minute, okay? Then what we did was we said we have drinking water that comes in from the city. Okay. And what we recognized there is that that drinking water gets used in several different ways, okay? Well, one of the ways actually is that it could fill people's personal containers, okay? So let's leave that one for a minute. But okay, so the water, remember we had this box and we said it gets used in fountains and kitchens. Okay, so now what I've done is I've actually bunched those two together. Okay. And then that water also gets used or is made available through retail. And so I'm going to have retail. Okay, and by retail I mean Sodexo, Tea Room, Common Ground. So that might be Starbucks, Tim Hortons, Pita Pit, and so forth. So if it gets made into drinks, they're drawing drinking water from the city. So that's another way that people get access to it there. Okay. A third way that we had identified is as prepackaged, and what I decided to do is to say prepackaged reusable containers. And then the next one I said was prepackaged single use. Okay, and the reason I wanted to differentiate between those is that they have different implications for the solid waste stream. So that's why I decided to differentiate between those. Okay. Now, prepackaged reusable, how do I get those? Well, people might bring them to campus, okay, but the majority of those, I would argue, so you know, we could have a stream that goes forward like that, but the majority are probably available through retail, okay? And again, people might bring prepackaged single-use containers on campus and then off, okay? Some of those are available through retail. But the other piece, and so I'm going to backtrack here for a minute, another really important piece is that prepackaged single-use containers are available through vending machines. Okay. And so they're available through vending machines. I could make an assumption and just say, you know what? Not that many people bring prepackaged single-use containers on campus. Or I could actually, sorry, and when I say not that many people, I mean individuals, okay? For now, what I'm going to do is assume that prepackaged single-use containers mostly are available through retail or through vending machines, okay? And in fact, actually, I'll back that one up too. I'm going to assume that the number of prepackaged containers that get carried on campus by individuals is probably relatively small relative to the total number of containers that get sold on campus. So I'm just going to ignore the fact that people might bring them on campus themselves as well and say that what I'm mostly interested in, the dominant streams, are prepackaged reusable, which gets sold through retail, prepackaged single-use, which either gets sold through retail or through vending machines. Okay? And so you can see that even in the process of drawing this iteration number 2 map, I'm well on my way to iteration number 3, because I keep asking and critiquing the diagram that I'm making and saying, okay, hold on a sec, how much detail do you really need? Okay? So here we go. Personal containers, drinking water from the city, prepackaged reusable, prepackaged single use. I think I've captured all of the main ones, okay? And so then what I can do is I can say, okay, people consume them, they either carry it out or else it just goes to the toilet. Personal containers, same sort of thing, and so forth, okay? So there's my iteration 2 systems map for water coming on Queen's campus, okay? Now, we can critique this, and we might say, you know, okay, hold a sec, you've missed an arrow, so there, I'll put another arrow there. We might say, it's really the front and middle guts that are the most interesting. This last piece, in the general scheme of the containers, how we bring in hydration water, is less important, okay? The reason the diagram looks like this is because the thing that we've been keying in on is water, okay? This diagram has been built from the point of view of water coming into campus and water leaving campus. If you want, it's a systems map that describes a day in the life of water on Queen's campus, okay? You might well say, well, you know, we want to pay attention to the solid waste associated with how people get that hydration, and the answer I would give is absolutely. So you could start drawing a companion map to this systems map, where what you actually did was you focused on solid waste flow associated with hydration. And so you could see that personal containers would come in and they would just leave because they come and go. We wouldn't have a drinking water stream from the city, but we would absolutely have prepackaged, reusable, prepackaged, single use, okay? And so one of the things I want to leave you with is that when you start drawing systems maps, you can theme them by focusing on the flow of a certain entity, in this case water. Solid waste would be another example. You can actually mix them together too if you'd like and differentiate between the different kinds of flows. And you can also have additional kinds of arrows on there that differentiate between the flow of information and the flow of material, such as water. And so if you take a look at some of the slides associated with the course, you'll see examples of that. In that example, I use a food map looking at personal food consumption in a house because I'm interested in how food waste develops. So I hope that this is an example that's helpful in understanding how you go through the process of drawing a systems map. What we're trying to capture is how stuff comes in, how stuff leaves, and what the interconnections are inside the system.